Hey YouTube, Biz here at The Casual Athlete, back with another episode of Buys, Holds and Sells for round 10 of the NRL fantasy season. It's magic round, but my team's not feeling so magical right now. I'm dropped out of the top 50 and now in the 500s mark. Need to recover to get back in there. Unfortunately, I've had a bit of story this week. I've been angry all day, and that is because I purchased Zach Lomax into my team last week thinking, yep, keeper, centre, great buy schedule, underpriced, pod with only 1% ownership. He scored 59 points, and I was thinking on Sunday and Monday, great, I am a genius. Tuesday morning, he's been dropped. Can you believe it? I'm not too happy with this pick. He sounds like he's had a go at his coach as well, so I can't imagine there's too much good blood there. So can't see him making his way back into the team anytime soon. So I'll have to trade Zach Lomax. Hallelujah. Another trade on a center. What can you do? Anyway, let's get straight into it. The buy of the week for me is another Dragons player who is available at center, and that's Jack Bird. Now, prior to team lists, my buy of the week would have been Jack Tabellin, who's playing at lock for about 80 minutes a game, scoring really well. He's been moved to prop, and then Jack Bird has moved back to lock. Now, Jack Bird playing in the middle is really good at scorer at fantasy, available in the centers, has a really friendly buy schedule now. We need to really zone in on buys here. Round 13 is almost upon us. 13 scoring players for that round. Most players will be at origin or on a buy, so make sure you're planning accordingly. A lot of my buys this week and sells this week will be based on our upcoming buy schedule, so it's really important you think about that. Jack Bird plays round 13 and round 17. Get him in your team. He's going to be the best center all year. Get him in as early as you can. Next guy on this list is Robson from the Cowboys. Now, the gun hookers this year, Grant and Cook, both play Origin, so they're not going to be available to you in the buy rounds. The way it's done this year is you only need one scoring hooker for round 13 and 17. Robson is the next guy up who plays both of those rounds and is probably the third best fantasy hooker this year. Get him in your team. Don't rely on guys like Crossland and Granville. You can see that they might not make it to round 13. Crossland was benched last week. Although Mann is injured now, and then Granville, who knows if he's going to keep that 13th spot or starting position for much longer. Cowboys don't look too good. So Robson is a great option. Get him in your team. Next guy on this list is Joe Tarpanay. Now, people might not be too happy with this pick, but he's still getting decent minutes. He's still a gun player in his prime. Papali will be playing Origin for Queensland, as we all know. So Joe Tarpanay will need to step up. Raiders are getting hot, so they're getting a bit, a bit more positivity and optimism about the team. But Tarpanay is a guy who, boom, 50 plus, boom, 70 plus, chain a few big scores together, prices rising. If you want proof that guns always come back to the top if they're getting the minutes, just look at Latrell Mitchell. 4 weeks ago, people were counting him out. He had bottomed out. Casual Athlete said, get him in your team while he's bottomed out. He has gone on a massive run. He's now 800k and the best winger fullback by far, averaging almost 60. Tarpanay could do this and plays around 13. Next guy on this list, Scotty Drinkwater. Now, this is not a pretty pick, but let me tell you, there are no good wing fullbacks available for round 13. You've got a handful of guys from the Dolphins who are trending on the down, so Hamiso will be available at fullback. You've got Lockie Miller, who you have to keep, but after that, there's not many players who are going to be there. So if you need a wing fullback that plays both round 13 and round 17, who is right at the bottom of his price point at Scott Drinkwater, he's lost about 150k on the season already. If Cowboys improve and they're not looking great, well, he can make that money back, and he's the type of player who can just get flashy, get streaky, crack open a few big scores together and make that money back. Next guy on this list, Jermaine Hopgood. Now, he was a sell less than a month ago. What's changed? Well, RCG has gone down. He's out for 8 to 10 weeks, right? Hopgood is dual position. His price has come down to 700k mark. He is now... Look, the tricky thing with Hopgood is his position kind of changes every week. Like it's lock, sometimes bench, and you're never too sure. But it looks like he's got that lock position secured to a certain extent, but my problem with Hopgood is he might actually make the Queensland team. There are rumours going around that he is being considered, but if not, the good thing about Hopgood is during Origin time, Junior will be out. Madison might make the team. I doubt it, but maybe. And then with RCG and Junior both out, Hopwood is having to play big minutes. You all see what he looks like when he plays big minutes. He scores like 60 plus. Dual position player. Get him in your team. If you think he's not going to make the Queensland side, he is going to be great for buy. He's got a really friendly buy schedule as well. So he's a great option and dual position. So as good as it gets. Another kind of guy on that same basis is like Madison. We've talked about him before, but he's going to be a gun scorer. He's coming off the bench, but he's going to come play 55, 60 minutes from the middle. And he averaged 60 doing that last year anyway, so I wouldn't be too worried about Madison. Next guy on this list is Lukey from the Cowboys. Now, Lukey's coming back from injury. He's been a bit injury prone over the year. Had a bad injury last year as well, but Nana gone for 4 weeks. Lukey is one of their young guns. He scores pretty well when playing in that second row. Other than injury-affected games, he averages about 46 in the second row. Priced at about 32. Get him in your team. He's a good pick. Cowboys are desperate. He's going to have to play big minutes. If not straight away, you can probably wait and see a week to see if they ease him into it. But again, great buy schedule. Get Lukey in your team. And the last buy for this week is Tavita Totola from the Bunnies. Again, another perfect buy schedule. Jai Arrow, Cam Murray, all these guys are going to play Origin, so there's going to be a lot of minutes during the Origin period when they're either at camp or being rested in around that week they miss. Totola averaged 45 last year. Had a couple of injury-affected games this year, so he's down to the 450k mark where he's priced at 32. I think it's a no-brainer. The last thing I didn't add is he plays in mid position, which is bloody hard to fill up right now. So get him in your team. He's a great pick. If you don't need any other positions right now, go get Totola. He's a great option for some of our sells later in this video. Now, moving into cash cows. Now, not too much out here, but there is definitely one great cash cow that you need to go get, and that is Jareem Buller. He's come out. I got him in my team as soon as I saw his named. I was like, oh, what the hell? I'll trade Talau to him. Can't get any worse. But he's looked really good. 45 versus the Panthers last week in an absolute torrential game, which is great signs. He's got the Dragons this week, who aren't a defensive team, so Buller could go big this week. Get him in. He's already gone up 60k with a low break even. Unfortunately, he doesn't play around 13, nor does he play around 17, but he can make you 150, 200k pretty quick. You have to get him in this week. He is a must. The next guy, not a must, but I'm expecting a big things from him. Karl Olapu from the Bulldogs. Now, the Bulldogs are easing him on from the bench, but good signs. In about 45 minutes, he scored 26 points and 15 tackles. So he's a guy that likes to get involved. With a bench spot this week, he's not an urgent buy. He doesn't play around 13 either. So if he's just going to play 40 minutes a game, you can kind of wait and just pick him up at 300k after round 13 if you have to. But Bulldogs play the first game this week on the Thursday night. If he actually starts and Reynolds goes to the bench, then watch a huge influx of people getting in. Make sure you have a plan that if Karl Olapu is a late starter on Thursday, then you can work around your team to get him in, because he is going to be a stud. He is a young gun, and he's going to be a gun in the future. Don't expect great fantasy output this year, because Burden is the chief playmaker, and he's going to hog the kick meters and playmaking ability, but I can see a situation where Carl's averaging 30 to 40 and a decent 17th man or 18th man going forward. Now, the other two cash cows, not so much. Very hit or miss here. They could go well, they could go poorly. The first one is Rumu Greg. Again, RCG is out. Junior will miss the bye rounds. Got 45 odd minutes last week for 40 plus points. Now, Greg, I love Greg. I'm an Eels fan, but he moves like the Titanic. Like, he cannot turn, he cannot move laterally too quickly, but when he's running straight and hard, he is hard to tackle. Now, if he gets fitness and he's playing minutes, he's got pretty good PPM. If you think he can get 35 to 40 minutes, then at 280k mark, here's a cash cow. Again, great buy schedule, plays around 13, 17, and those weeks won't have Junior or RCG, so he could get big minutes in both of those weeks. At 280k in a tricky mid position, get him in your team. I'll be getting him in this week, chucking a specky on him. My last cash cow this week is Cooper Johns. Now, hear me out. Schuster's gone for a few weeks. Cherry Evans is a lock for Origin. Cooper Johns is probably going to be the dominant halfback over the Origin period. So if they decide to play Cherry, reduce minutes, or give him a rest, then Cooper Johns is going to actually take the bulk of the kicking duties, etc. So there's probably a world where he's going to score 35, 40 points over the bye period, and he's priced pretty cheap at the moment. And in the Manly team, he can fluke a try here and there, even as the secondary playmaker to DCE. So not the best cash cow, but an option if you want one in the halves. That's not Carl. Decent buy schedule for Manly as well. So there's another potential buy there. Now, that's the good stuff. Let's go on to the not so good stuff, the holds. The first one, Phoenix Crossland. Now, I wanted to sell him, but it turns out that Man has a torn oblique, which means Crossland should go back into the starting team and play 70 odd minutes at hooker. Now with Man gone, potentially 80, but I doubt it with Gamble and co still there. But 70 minutes at hooker, Crossland's probably a 45-point guy. And why you got to keep him? He plays round 13. He could be a decent half there. Unfortunately, he won't get the dual position. So if you've got two halves that are playing round 13 and you don't need Crossland, you can get rid of him. But worth keeping an eye on. Now, the next hold, there's two guys in this category, Damien Cook and Cameron Murray. Now, they've had a bit of lean form over the last few weeks. People are trading them out ahead of Origin. Don't trade these guys out. They are keepers, especially Cookie. He's a pod, and there's not many gun hookers out there. Murray, same thing. He copped a sin bin last week, but they're playing the Storm this week. Now, both of these guys went 70 plus the last time they played the Storm. It's going to be a grind through the middle again. Magic round, going to be a great crowd. I'm expecting a big bounce back from these guys. If you're going to trade them out for Origin, don't trade them until round 13 when they're out at camp. Next hold is Lockie Miller. I think this is a straightforward one. He's got the bye this week. Don't trade him out. He's had some lean scores, but we've seen what he can do. My only concern with him is Ponga has been terrible at 6, so they might move Ponga back to 1, but they have come out and committed to him at the start of the season, playing out the season at 6, so it looked pretty poor if they turn that around now. I don't know what's going to happen there, but Miller is a guy who'll play around 13, and like I said before, there's not many wing fullbacks available that week in that position, so keep him in your side. The next guy is Zach Hosking. Now, people are saying he's peaked in price, but this guy, when he's playing 80 minutes, when Panthers are at their best, average 55 plus in edge, he's pretty much a keeper. Like, don't bother trading him. He plays round 17, does he? Yep, he plays round 17, so I'm just checking my notes. And yeah, he's worth holding on to unless you find an instance where he's getting benched frequently. Like, he got benched a couple of weeks ago and he played 60 odd minutes, but he went back to 80 last week, so who knows, maybe he was carrying a niggle and he copped a hit or something, but keep him in your team. The last guy is Reece Walsh, back-to-back 20-point scores. He has got a tough run over the next few weeks, barring this week, but in saying that, Walshy's been one of the best fullbacks this year. He's playing an electric Broncos team. Magic round, you know he's going to aim up. I would not be surprised if Walsh comes out with a blockbuster game this week. And again, he's probably not going to play for Queensland this year if Ponga makes the team, so he's going to play that around 13. He's gold for that period, so keep him in your team. So that's the holds. Now we're going to get to sells. Like I said, the top of my sells is Zach Lomax. Probably doesn't impact many of you because he's got 1% ownership, but it impacts me. That guy, I can't believe he got dropped. I've been spewing all day. I need a breather just to soak that in. Anyway, there's not much to say. Look, he's not coming back in the team anytime soon unless there's injuries, I think. I can imagine he's the type of player to have an absolute sook when he had the news that he'd been dropped, and I can't imagine his coach took that too well. So it's probably a bit of bad blood there, so I can't imagine him coming back next week, but I hate it. He had a good buy schedule and everything. My other centre, Alamotti, also a sell, which is great. I'm pretty sure every single sell I have is in my team this week. So Paul Alamotti, look, it just doesn't look the same without Addo-Carr there. It's pretty much peaked in price. Has got the Raiders this week, but he's going to be lining up against Timoko and not Croker, so it's going to be a tough matchup. If it was against Croker, I'd say you could win some easy busts because Croker's defense is not as good as it was, but 400k, he doesn't play around 13 or around 17, so not worth carrying. Get rid of him while he's still got value. I'm going to have to keep him just because Lomax decided to get dropped, but if you don't have that problem, trade Alamotti. Next guy on this list is teammate Preston. He's not an urgent trade out, but like I said, he doesn't play around 13 or 17. And he's probably a 45-point guy, and now he's priced at 45. So worth trading out to one of these guys who plays around 13 and 17. They're in my buys list, like players from the Dragons, players from the Eels. Players from teams that play both 13 and 17 are really good picks. So get them in. But Preston, not an urgent sell. Couchman, another guy in my team. Look, he's been dropped. He's probably a young gun who makes it back into the team potentially by around 13. He's got that dual position, but he's just not getting the minutes. Hook kind of moves him around. Like, he scored a try and then he got hooked within 2 minutes and he didn't come back on. So, again, in my team, I have to sell him because even if he makes a team, Origin doesn't really impact the Dragons too much in the forwards. Like, they'll lose Ben Hunt, but they're not going to, Ben Murdoch-Masilla's not going to play Origin or anything. So, you know what I mean? So, yeah, Couchman, not much hope there. Trade him. Sean Russell, this is a guy you could potentially hold. He could easily, make his way back into the team. It's not like Dunster or Bailey Simonson have locked in those positions, but he's 18th man this week. He's also in my team. Great. As you can see, my team's in a bit of shambles this week. But Sean Russell, look, he hasn't really lived up to the hype in terms of fantasy. He has missed a lot of tackles, which is probably why he's been dropped. He missed 7 odd tackles last week. To be fair, he was marking Dan Gagai, who is playing amazing this year. But Bailey Simonson in the centers, call me stupid, but I'm actually probably going to just swap Russell to Simonson. Simonson actually scores pretty well in the centers. He's actually got a high work rate. He played in the centers versus Penrith in the grand final last year, and he played about 60 minutes and he had scored about 40 points because he had made 150 meters and 20 odd tackles. He is quite a workhorse, and even in the game against the Broncos a couple of weeks ago, before he had his HIA, he was on about 18 at halftime, so trending for that 35 plus score, which at the 340k price mark is pretty solid for a centre. He's only available at wing fullback, but he'll get that dual position post round 13 if he's still in the team. Look, knowing my luck, I want to get Bailey Simonson in for Russell, and they're going to swap again next week, and I'm just going to delete the app and quit the game, and Longy's going to take over the podcast full time. Anyway, as you can see, I'm not too positive about my team right now, but still in the top 1,000, still doing okay. I need my guns to fire. Cook, Murray, Papali, give me a big score this week. I want to be back in that top 500. I want to be back in that top 100. If you've got any questions, let us know. If you've got other content you want us to cover, let us know. But otherwise, start thinking about those buys, get it locked in, and enjoy Magic Round. Take care. Peace.